Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea episode. I think it's 217. We'll go with 217. My name is Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at the corner of knitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called the Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my hand-spun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group called the Corner of Knit and Tea. Hello, how are you? It is Sunday, February 17th, and I am coming to you from snowy, cold Kansas. It has snowed again this week, and it is in the 20s this weekend, so for the most part, we are staying indoors. I hope that you have had a lovely week. There has been lots going on, and I will delve into some of that as we go into knitting. And I guess let's just start the podcast and then we'll get into it. So today I am drinking once again my London tea from the tea house, Covent Gardens. This was from my recent trip to the UK. I just decided I wanted some black tea today, and I am drinking it once again in my Stonehenge mug, which is my sheep at Stonehenge. So this is a little bit of my London trip and some great tea. The London tea is a blend of Darjeeling and Ceylon teas, and it is delicious. So it's some good strong black tea on a snowy day. Let's get to the knits. I have had a super productive week. The first thing I am pleased to show you that I have finished is the Child Sophisticate. This was a review knit for Briggs & Little, not Briggs & Little, for Kramer Yarns, and of course I do not have the tag with me. This was knit in Kramer Yarns Perfection Worsted, which is a 70% acrylic, 30% merino yarn. The three colorways that I used are Marble up at the top, and then the dark blue is Peacock, and the light blue is Puddle. So this is the Child Sophisticate pattern by Linden Down. The Baby Sophisticate in the infant size is free, and then the Baby and Child Sophisticate is all the larger sizes up to, I believe, age 10. It is a great pattern. That is a paid for pattern, but I have used it multiple times, so I've definitely gotten my money's worth. And like I said, I used the Kramer Perfections Worsted. I knit the 4-year-old size. This seems really large to me, although I seemed to get gauge, and my plan is to wash it and dry it. Perfection Worsted, because it is acrylic and merino, is washable and dryable, so my plan is to do that. This is for my nephew. He will only be 3 this year, so I kind of expected it wouldn't fit him this year. Hopefully it will fit him next year. It is a cute raglan collar knit from the top down with a kind of shawl collar, and I have buttons. I can't remember whether, yes, I did bring them. They're really cute. They look a little bit like baseballs, although that's not exactly what they are, but that's what they reminded me of. And it's not that he's super into sports or anything, but he actually really, really likes his cardigans with buttons, so I decided to get some cool buttons for him. So, and these are, I believe, just plastic buttons. I'm going to sew them on there. I don't know whether I'm going to do it before or after I wash the cardigan. But I actually knit him one of these that he wears now. I knit him the 2-year size, and he is still wearing it. Or I knit him the 18-month size, and he is still wearing it. He's a tiny little peanut. And he loves it, and he loves the buttons. So I decided to do it again. I really liked working with the yarn. It is definitely an acrylic yarn. So if you are looking for something that feels like 100% wool, it definitely does not. That said, it is nice to work with. It is very plump and squishy. It is a worsted weight, but I think it almost knits up more at a heavy worsted or an Aran weight. It is not too splitty. I did my entire cardigan on size 8 needles per the pattern, and it came out just fine. Like I said, I hit gauge. It just seems large. And Roxy will be, well, she'll be 6 this fall, but I'm thinking about sending this up there so that she can get some wear out of it if she wants to. And if not, I'll just hold on to it for when he's older. So that is my Kramer yarns. I'm super happy to have finished this week and gotten it off the needles. I will be washing it, sewing on buttons, and doing a full review on the blog this week. But that is one of my February projects down, and I am happy to have a February finish. So again, Child Sophisticate, Kramer Perfection DK worsted in marble, puddle, and peacock. So that is it. I started out with 2 skeins of the marble and a skein each of the puddle and peacock. I would say I have half a skein left over of each. So this probably took between 5 and 550 yards, which is roughly what the pattern suggested. I have yet to weigh the yarn. I think there's enough yarn left over to do a hat to match, so I probably will do that, and then I'll call this one done. So that is that one. The next 2 items that I worked on, well, let's talk about the next item. And this is where we get into some of what happened this week, and, okay. Several weeks ago, a friend of mine suggested that we do a Carbeth knit along. She had been wanting to knit a Carbeth for a while. That is Carbeth by Kate Davies. And last year when Carbeth came out, there was this whole movement to bang out a Carbeth because it is it is knit in bulky weight yarn or DK doubled. So it is a kind of cropped turtleneck sweater, a little bit loose fitting, and a friend of mine really wanted to do one, and so I bought yarn to do it. I would say this is the very beginning of January. That is before a lot of the race discussions started, and it is before this past week, which has been quite problematic in regards to Kate Davies. I can't speak to everything that happened because, to be honest, I was not following it super closely, and I am also not the person who is most affected by it. From my understanding, Kate Davies blocked some people of color from her posts, and refused to acknowledge that she had done so or apologize for doing so. Subsequently, she removed her Instagram account entirely. She published a statement on her website, but that is also missing, and most of the statements she made on Ravelry are missing now, as have since been deleted as well. And so I had some thinking to do this week about what I wanted to do about the fact that I am currently knitting one of her patterns, especially in light of all of this. And I think the conclusion that I have come to is that I am going to finish the sweater because I have started and put in effort, and I'm going to use it in order to remind myself to pay attention to what designers that I follow and I support are doing and saying, and put my money where my mouth is, as it were. I have said previously on this podcast that I want to be open and inclusive to everyone, and that I want to create a safe environment for everyone here. And that includes people, particularly people of color, and anyone who may feel excluded. And I have been doing a lot of looking at how I myself participate in systemic racism and how I can improve. And so I think what I've decided is that I am going to continue knitting this sweater. It is a fairly simple stockinette sweater, so I have decided that as I knit it, I am going to listen to some podcasts, particularly Layla F. Saad's new podcast called Good Ancestors, and last night I listened to the episode where she spoke with Rachel Cargill, who is also doing a lot of work, a lot of anti-racist work. So that's what I did last night. I have a couple books that I am on the wait list for at the library, and I am going to try and much as one would do with a shawl or an intentional knitting piece, to use this time that I work on this sweater to improve myself and to improve my attention to others. So that's sort of a long way to say that I'm going to show you the Carbeth that I'm working on. And I just wanted to acknowledge what is going on and the fact that I don't blindly support Kate Davies' actions, and that I am thinking very carefully about whether I choose to support certain people in the future. So, this is my Carbeth. This is knit in, and I thought I did put the label over here. Yes, this is knit in Cloudborne limited edition wool bulky in magenta heather. This is the house yarn of Craftsy, which is now Blueprint. I ordered it back in early January. I believe this blend is still available, although as I have said in past podcasts, I have noticed that some of these limited editions don't stick around very long. I don't know if they're just doing it. I don't know exactly how they get produced, so that is what I'm doing. They will always have a bulky option. This just happens to be the one that I am using. It is a really, really beautiful wine color. This is kind of the messy skein that's left that I'm trailing around. Close up you can see it's got some reds and blues, but it is just a really pretty kind of purpley wine color. And at this point I have knit the body and I just joined the first sleeve. So I would say I'm about halfway done. In fact, I am halfway done in terms of my yarn. I have used 3 skeins. The sleeve took 1 full skein. The body thus far has taken 2 skeins. And then I have 2 skeins to do the raglan top and the yoke. I'm hoping it will be enough. If not, I will rip it out and at that point probably select a new sweater. But I am going to knit the next sleeve tonight while, as I said, reading and listening. So that is currently on the needles, and I'm hoping that maybe I can finish this in the next week or 2 for February, because there are plenty of other projects that I would like to get to, although I definitely would like to wear this one. I have several dresses that I feel like it would be, I just feel like it would be a good addition to my wardrobe. So that is that one. And the final knit is something that I had brought to show you before. I decided that I was going to pick back up my Sizzle Pop, and this is the Sizzle Pop Shawl by Leslie Ann Robinson. I am knitting it in worsted weight, which is not what the pattern calls for, and I am using 2 yarns, which are Miss Babs Yowza in Deep Sea Jellyfish, and then the dark gray is from CJ Coho. It is a Polworth blend in the colorway, I believe it is Crawford. And so these are the 2 yarns that I have. This was just half the ball of Deep Sea Jellyfish, so I'm almost done with the first half, probably a couple more repeats and I'll be done with this. And then I have the other ball still. Obviously the CJ Coho is still rather large, still not head size, but getting there. And I will be working on this one. I would really like to finish this one this month before I start on March's knits. I have a sample knit for March. I have a review knit for some yarn that I'm going to be turning into a 2-color shawl. And I have my sister saw, oh, and that's the only one that I didn't talk about. Let me finish on this one. So I really would like to finish this one. I am finding this a fun pattern when I don't mess it up. I do need to spend a little time concentrating, or at least following the chart. It is getting easier as I go through, but I do not have it memorized. So that is what I'm working on. Originally I had thought I would go until I finish all the yarn that I have. I don't know if I will go that far, because if it gets too big I will not. But a big warm cozy shawl in the middle of winter with some bright pops of color seem like something that I would love to do. So I'll be working on that. The one that I don't have here to show you, that I can't remember whether I had finished it last week, I think I was just getting ready to put the border on, was my Zen Yarn Garden wrapped in brioche shawl. I did finish that. There are pictures on my Instagram, and that was a sample for Zen Yarn Garden, so that went back to Zen Yarn Garden. And my sister saw it on Instagram and was super impressed by it, really loved it. And I think, as I said, I only used a portion of the gradients, so I have enough left over to do another one, and she has a birthday at the end of March, so I think I'm going to be repeating that knit and making her one of those. So those are probably the 3 knits I'll focus on in March. I should say, I sort of forgot to say it as part of what I was talking about Carbeth. Some of the efforts that I am making that are more tangible than just educating myself. If you don't follow Jeanette Sloan on Instagram, she is a maker of color, and she has put together an incredible list of makers of color in the industry. And basically what I did, she's got it on her webpage. If you just check out her profile, you'll be able to see it from there. I will also link it in the show notes. Basically, I went to her page and went down her list of BIPOC creators, and that is Black, Indigenous persons of color. And I went through those creators and followed them all, or followed a good chunk of them on Instagram. I confess I didn't follow all the crochet designers because I don't crochet that much, but I did follow most of the dyers and the knitting designers. And I am trying to, again, put my money where my mouth is and shop with intention. And so I have been purchasing patterns, and I have a list of dyers for the next time I am ready to purchase yarns for projects. And one of the other things that I will be casting on in March is I have purchased a sock pattern. The pattern is called Pebbles and Pathways from Hey Brownberry, who is Marceline. She is also on Instagram, and I will be casting that sock on this week, so I will be showing that to you next week. So those are kind of my March knits. Going forward, I am going to spend some time in the pattern designers, particularly makers of color, and look towards being more diverse in my selections about the kinds of things that I am knitting. So all of that is kind of a long way to wrap up the knitting section. I do have a little bit of spinning, and I forgot, and the yarn that I just spun is over there. So give me 2 seconds to go grab it. And this is the yarn that I was working on the last time we spoke. This is fiber from Bond Fiber, which is it was Superwash Merino in the colorway, I think it was called Flower Power, and I'm pleased that it did not get crazy pastel. It was pinks and oranges and blues and yellows, and it is a little bit pastel, but I really actually do think there's a lot of color still in here. I ended up with probably close to 500 yards of superwash merinos, so this would be excellent for socks or accessories. I am waiting for it to finish drying so I can get a final weight and yardage count, and then this one will be up in the shop if it's something that interests you. I did not start the next spin yet. This is the spin that I showed you last week, which is Superfine Pullworth from the January 2016 Club of Southern Cross Fiber, and this is called Summer Days, and I will be starting this one this evening. This one will also be for the shop. So I think that covers everything that I said today. I welcome your comments and feedback. Please definitely leave me comments on YouTube or on Instagram, or I can also be reached on Ravelry as Fluffy K. And I hope that you will join me for future podcasts, but also in sort of an ongoing discussion of race in the knitting community, and what I as a white woman can do better, and how we can learn more and move forward to be more inclusive. So that is what I have to say for today, and I hope that I will see you next week. Until then, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.